Let's talk about Lili's poking game, because poking is super important in Tekken. They're usually fast moves that deal small amounts of damage and are safe on block, and they are there to provoke your opponent to make mistakes. Lili's poking game is a rare case, in my opinion. Her poking game is mediocre at best, but it serves its purpose. She's a ranged 2 character, and her pressure at close range is really weak. For example, her down forward 1, a key mid poke for most characters, has a bad hitbox. It can be backdashed easily, and it lacks tracking. She has a couple of great pokes like down 3, quarter circle forward 3+4, jabs, etc. But most of her pokes are untraditional and situational, because sometimes Lili has to use unsafe moves as pokes. For example, quarter circle forward 1, quarter circle forward 2. These are unsafe, or even wall standing 1 can be used as a poke. These are all unsafe, but she has extensions that will make the opponent hesitate to punish, and that's how you use these moves as pokes. You make the opponent hesitate whether you're gonna finish the string or not. And then some pokes, they have good range or good tracking. For example, down forward 4 and up forward 3+4. Up forward 3+4 has tremendous range, and it's quite fast, and it's low crushes. But the problem with these pokes is that they have bad frames. They're around -9 on block. And that means that it's mostly your opponent's turn to pressure you. And pokes usually have much better frames on block. For example, -1 to -3. That's what makes pokes spammable. And then again, some of her pokes have amazing frames. For example, down forward 1, it's only -1 on block and +7 on hit, which is amazing for a down forward 1. Or back to 1, which is a high mid string, and it's 13 frames fast. That's amazing. But both of these moves have terrible range. So yeah, it's either that she has good range and tracking and bad frames, or good frames and terrible hitboxes. So quarter circle forward 3+4. Some players categorize this move as a poke, some do not, but it's 14 frames fast, high, but it gels, and it's +6 on block, and it's an essential move for Lili. And then we are going to start with simple jabs like 1 and 1, 2. You're gonna use this very often with Lili because they have good frames and pretty decent range, but her one jab has a terrible hitbox and it can be crushed easily, and that's why sometimes you can use her 2 jab instead, which doesn't get crushed as often, but it's 0 on block as opposed to her 1 jab, which is +1 on block. So yeah, her 1 jab is +8 on hit, +1 on block. Her 1, 2 jabs are -1 on block, +8 on hit, so it's amazing. +8 frames are great for pressure, even for Lili. She has a couple of extensions, like 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 4. Now these aren't amazing. 1, 2, 3 is a low, but it's minus on hit, and it's around -13 or -14 on block. The nice thing is that it cannot be stepped, and it also knocks down on counter hit for a guaranteed follow-up with down 3, or some Okizemi setups like sidestep 3 or a stomp, but those can be blocked. 1, 2, 4. This is the mid version, and it's there just to catch people off guard. It can be interrupted with high jabs and forwarded for a juggle or sidestepped, but it is safe on block. Don't overuse it, especially not if the opponent blocks the jabs. Now, if you hit your opponent with jabs, for example, when you use it as a poke, the mid extension can be good because your opponent cannot re-dart through it, and they cannot parry it either. So they pretty much just have to block. Now, what I like to do after a 1 jab or a 1-2 jabs on hit is, for example, forward 4, because forward 4 is 17 frames fast, so it is a frame trap after the jabs, and it's also unsteppable at these frames. So yeah, the opponent either has to parry it or rage art through it, but they cannot sidestep nor duck nor interrupt. You can also do down forward 3 or down 3, or you know, your standard Lili pressure if you feel like your opponent is going to respect your frames. Also, what I like to do is 1-2 jabs on hit into more 1-2 jabs. And this is because at +8, not even a duck jab will crush another jab. So if you do 1-2 on hit into another 1-2, your opponent has to duck. They cannot use any evasive moves. And then she has 2-3 and 2-4. These aren't amazing, but they're there. 2-3 is basically the same as her 1-2-3. Now, what I forgot to mention about this low is that sometimes I like to use this at a range, or when I think that my jabs are going to whiff because my opponent is going to sidestep them. Well, what happens then is that they're going to sidestep me and they get counter hit by the low when they try to whiff punish me, and then I get free down 3 on them. 2-4, it's primarily used as a 10 frame punisher, but sometimes you can get away with using this as a poke, even though the second hit is duckable if the first one is blocked. You know, you can spam people with 2 jabs and mix it up with down forward 1s and down 4s and whatnot. And occasionally you can finish the string. The string is delayable, and it's not natural anymore if you delay it. Yeah, there we go. It's not natural anymore if you delay it. The good thing about the extension is that it tracks, so sometimes I catch people sidestepping me with the second hit. Now, down forward 1. Down forward 1 is supposed to be a character's key mid poke. It is the case for Lili as well, but the bad hitbox on her down forward 1 is what makes Lili weak at range 0. Her down forward 1 is -1 on block, +7 on hits. Those are amazing frames, but as I said before, it's so easy for the opponent to backdash this. Let's see. For example, if he blocks a down forward 1, he can backdash another one easily. It's just not good. At -1 frames, for example, after blocked 1-2 jabs or blocked down forward 1, you can easily sidestep your opponent's pressure. So that's why moves that are -1 to around -3 on block, they still keep your momentum going. Now, +7 frames for Lili aren't as amazing as +8. At +7, Lili will trade hits with jabs. Also, I think her hop kick can be still sidewalked at +7, especially after a down forward 1, because her down forward 1 kind of pushes the opponent far away from her, and the further your opponent is away from you, the easier it is for them to sidestep you. So that's why it's much harder to sidestep after jabs than after a down forward 1, and also because of the 1 extra frame advantage after jabs. Now, down 3 is Lili's main low poke. This one is -12 on block, so it cannot be launched, which is amazing. It's only +1 on hit, but that's okay because the main advantage of this move is its tremendous range. It hits from like this far. Well, not this far, but like this far. Come on. Okay. It moves Lili a little closer to her opponent, so it can be used as an advancing tool, or you can just run away again, wait for a whiff, and punish them with Lili's amazing ranged whiff punishers. It's also a ground hitting tool, and it hits grounded reliably at every angle. All around, it's an amazing low poke, even though the frames on hit are not amazing. Also, down 3 has some tracking to Lili's right. It still can be sidewalked, but to Lili's left, it has amazing tracking and it's unsteppable. Now, another key mid poke for Lili is back 1. Back 1, I talked about back 1 on many occasions as well, but I'll give you a quick summary. So back 1 is 17 frames fast or 18 frames fast. It's -5 on block, +2 on hit. I know that 17 frames fast pokes are kind of bad, but this one is really good for Lili. And all her other mid pokes are good for her, considering her down forward one's hitbox is bad. Back 1 tracks a bit to her left, and the extension back 1-4 tracks to her right. It's also -11 on block, but the extension is natural on normal hit if it isn't delayed. You can catch people off guard with the delayed 4, especially if you mix this up often with going into do glide, and the opponent likes interrupting the transition. Do glide 1 goes under jabs, and you'd be surprised how many people try to jab Lili after back 1. As always, she can cancel the do glide by pressing back 1 forward and up, and then back to block immediately. This is how it looks like when it's fast. And in this case, if you cancel the do glide, down 4, down 1, even stuff like down back 3 and down back 3+4 will crush jabs that your opponent throws at you to try to interrupt your do glide transition. There is a general rule for every do glide transition move. The do glide transition gives Lili better frames on block and an hit, so you almost always want to go to do glide and at least cancel the do glide if you don't want to do glide pressure. And then we have down 4. Down 4 is a generic low poke. It's 12 frames fast, -2 on hit, but it has high crush properties and good tracking to Lili's right. And because of Lili's long legs, sometimes when the opponent blocks down 4 and they try to punish it, they're while standing 4 whiffs when the character has small limbs, for example Chloe. I like to use down 4 as a frame trap after down forward 3 or forward 4, just to mix up my pokes with like jabs and down forward ones and whatnot. And then we have back turn 2. This move is kind of versatile. It acts as a mid option for her back turn mix-up at the wall, and as a poke and a counter hit launcher in the open. This is a great poke for Lili for a couple of reasons. It is 15 frames fast, and that's quite fast for a slow character like Lili. It tracks to her right, and Lili players need tracking moves like that because her right side is her weak side. It is also great because it's safe and it's 15 frames fast, as I said before, and as we all know, Lili's counter hit game is really weak. And then she has back to 1. This is a situational poke for Lili. It's 13 frames fast, high mid range, natural on normal hits. It has the same problem as her down forward one, which is the poor hitbox. The range is horrible, but sometimes it clips opponents that try to sidestep, so at least the tracking is better than on her down forward one. It's only -4 on block and +7 on hit, so that's pretty good. And it gives you the same situation as down forward one on hit. She can go to back to stance by pressing back to 1 back. And then she can do back turn mix-ups with back turn 2, back turn 1+2, back turn down 4 and whatnot. I do the back turn mix-ups if I feel like my opponent will respect me and let me do back turn mix-ups. Back turn down 4 is a great follow-up as a quick high crushing low. This sweep and the back turn down 3 options. This option and back turn down 3, they're also great follow-ups, either for tracking or for evading stuff like jabs, and even some mids from the opponent. Sometimes you can finish the string with back to 1+2 to catch them off guard and get a knockdown, but it's -12 on block, so be careful. Then she has back turn down 4, as I already mentioned. It is a high crushing low poke, but it's not the same as her neutral down 4, because back turn down 4 has better frames on block and on hit. On hit it's +3, and on block it's only -level. Some people get caught by a wall standing 4 afterwards, because they don't expect the back turn down 4 to be plus on hit. I like using this after back to 1 back and forward 4 back, or sometimes even a quarter circle forward 1 to back. Or even if I go to back turn stance manually and I don't want to commit to anything really unsafe and I just want to poke my opponent a little bit. Then she has down forward 4. It's 15 frames fast to me. It tracks to her right. Once again, it's -8 on block, so it cannot be spammed. The extension can catch people off guard, and it's also guaranteed on counter hit, even on full delay. The counter hit can be confirmed because of the shaking screen after the first hit on counter hit, and then you just input the second hit. You should practice this because you need every little extra bit of damage that you can get with Lili. I like to use down forward 4 after quarter circle forward 3+4 on block, like this, because it covers almost every option from the opponent. It cannot be parried easily since it's a knee. It's a frame trap because quarter circle forward 3+4 is +6 on block, and down forward 4 is 15 frames fast. It's a mid, so they can abduct it, and it's also hard to sidestep when you're at +6, unless you are playing versus another Lili player. And then she has back turn down 3, which tracks slightly to, well, not slightly, the tracking on it is actually really good. It tracks to her left. It's about 17 frames fast, and it goes under jabs and some mids. It's neutral on hit and about +3 on counter hit, and they're forced into a crouching state on counter hit. So that's how you know that it was a counter hit. If you want to poke with this, then I suggest you to use the first hit only, not down 3-4. And use the 4 extension only in case you think it's gonna counter hit, or if you think the opponent will duck and try to punish the low. The string has its uses in other situations that I've mentioned in a couple of my other videos. Then she has a 4-3+4, which is a 15 frames knee attack. It crushes lows, that's why it's amazing, and it's only +2 on hit. And Unfortunately, it's around -9 or -8 on block. That's why this move cannot be spammed either. Also, the recovery on whiff is terrible because of its long animation. It's great as a small panic move because it's a safe wall crush, and it's quite fast. So I throw this out when I expect low pokes from my opponent or if they try to duck jab a lot. It's a long ranged and leaves Lili close to the opponent, so it could be a great advancing tool. The 3 extension can be hit confirmed after the first hit. On counter hit it knocks down, and it's neutral on hit. It's a high though, so don't overuse this. The 3+4 extension is used only for memes and as a punisher when you get behind the opponent. It's definitely not used for poking. Then she has forward 3. Throwing out a couple of forward 3s to test the waters is not a bad idea, but it is slow and super linear with a terrible recovery on it. It's great if you manage to make your opponent block this or you hit them with this. She can go to do glide like after back 1 and 3-2. On its own, forward 3 is -12 on block, but a do glide cancel makes it safe. The extension 3+4 is natural on counter hit and knocks down for a guaranteed stomp. It can be stepped, although nobody really does that in real fights because they are scared of the do glide 3+4. Then she has wall stunning 4 and a quarter circle forward 4 as pokes. Wall stunning 4 is primarily her 11 frame punisher, 11 frame wall stunning punisher, but it's a great poke as well because of the knockdown and the momentum it gives Lili. It's a great move. If they don't tech roll, you get to mix them up, and if not, then you can do something like down for 3+4 to free float them or hit them grounded or something. Or even forward 4 or down 3 to if they start side rolling and stuff like that. It's a great poke option after a do glide transition too. For example, back 1 into do glide 4 or forward 3 into do glide 4. It's a safe mid poke. Also, in the open, sometimes you can get a mini juggle with down 4 afterwards. And at the wall, you get a mini juggle with down back 1 and full crouch down forward 1. Now standing 3 and its strings. Standing 3 is 15 frames fast with big range and great tracking to Lili's left. On its own, you can sort of use it as a keep out tool because of the pushback on block and on hit as well. Standing 3 at the very tip range gives Lili even more pushback. So you can space it out well and yeah, it's gonna give good pushback. The frames are not amazing. It is even minus on hit, meaning you can't really keep up your pressure. Also, because of the pushback, a backdash from the opponent will make every option from Lili after standing 3 with. Jab strings that are 10 or 11 frames fast are legit punishers against standing 3. That is if they can reach Lili. For example, a character like Chloe might struggle with reaching standing 3 to punish Lili. She has a couple of options after standing 3. None of these are amazing, but they help with making Lili more unpredictable. 3-2 and 3-1. You can use both of these to interrupt the opponents if you think that they will try to interrupt you after the first hit. 3-1 is mid-mid, it's -13 on block, so it's used primarily as a block and with punisher. And then she has 3-2, which is mid-high. This one is safe on block, but it can be ducked, obviously. It is only -5 on block and +2 on hit. She can go to do glide once again with pressing forward. In this case, the frames are even better, like after every do glide transition from a move. So if you transition into do glide, it's only -2 on block and +5 on hit. So once again, going to do glide is almost always better than just doing 3-2 on its own. If the opponent retaliates after 3-2, Lili has options against this as well. She can finish the string with 3-2-3, which is a safe knockdown extension, but it's a high, so it can be that. If the second hit was a counter hit, then the last hit is guaranteed. She can crush jabs and sometimes other moves with do glide 3 and do glide 1, but both options are unsafe on block. Another quirk from Lili is that sometimes when standing 3 clips people while sidewalking, the follow-ups will whiff, even if the standing 3 hit them. And the same problem, she has the same problem with forward 2-3. Now, forward 1+2 is 14 frame fast mid. It is about -5 on block and +3 on hit and forces crouch. Because of being -5 on block, it's not really an amazing poke. Unfortunately, it is very linear. The only good thing about this move is its speed and the guaranteed stomp on counter hit. Most Lili players use this after a forward 4-4 because this is +4 on hit, so forward 1+2 will trade hits with jabs. Sometimes I like to use it after a down forward 3 as well, since it will beat most options from the opponent, except jabs. Then we have down 1. Overall, it's not as good as down 3 or down 4. But unlike those two, down 1 is only -11 on block. I like to use this occasionally against characters that have good 12 frame while standing punishers, like Brian's while standing 3. Brian players always go for while standing 3 when they block a low poke, but then it gets blocked by me and I can punish them. Forcing them to keep distinguishing between a down 4, a down 3, and a down 1 can give them an extra task to think about during the match and make the whole match more difficult for them. Other than that, down 1 is about 18 or 19 frames fast, it's neutral on hit, and it's linear. The nice thing about this is that it high crushes somewhat, not as well as down 4. Also, it deals slightly more damage, and it deals 10 points of damage, and down 4 deals 7 points of damage. Too bad this isn't plus on hit, it's neutral, because this would make her full crouch options more dangerous. I still like to do while standing 4 or while standing 1, or full crouch down forward 1, or even full crouch 4 if they respect me after a down 1, because she can go to full crouch by holding down. Standing 4, this is sort of like her forward 2. They are both 12 frames fast and they have long range, so I like to use them in similar ways. 4 is linear, but it has much better frames than forward 2. It's -4 on block and +7 on hit. So I usually like to follow this up with a down 3, since standing 4 leaves them somewhat further away from Lili, and down 3 has good range, or like down forward 3 or quarter circle forward 3+4. And so on hit, it's almost the same situation as after down forward 1 on hit. And then she has down 2. Down 2 is 16 frames fast, it's a mid and is safe on block. the extension down to 2 is unsafe. I think it's like -11 and it can be ducked, but it can be also delayed for more mind games. I would use the first hit or the first 2 hits for poking and use the 3 or 4 extensions just occasionally for more variety. Down 2 is great because it also has some tracking, and both down forward 4 and down 2 are unsteppable after a forward 4. Forward 2 is a really uncommon poke. The frames are pretty bad. Lili can use this because she's mostly linear and slow, and this move covers both weaknesses. It tracks super well to her weak side, to her right side, and it's 12 frames fast. The only problem is that it's -9 on block and -1 on hit. That's why you can't spam this as a regular poke. Occasionally, you can finish the string with forward 2-3 if you really feel like the opponent is gonna mash after forward 2. But it is -15 on block, with only a minor reward on hit. It's not really worth the risk in my opinion. And that's why forward 2-3 is primarily used as a punisher, and you use only forward 2 as a poke. As in the case of 3-1 and 3-2, the second hit of forward 2-3 can whiff on hit if Lili is off axis. It's great as a poke after a blocked down forward 3 or a forward 4 on hit, because many opponents tend to sidewalk left, and this will catch them, and it acts as a frame trap too, since it's 12 frames fast, so it will hit opponents even if they try to retaliate, and many opponents do after forward 4 and down forward 3 on block. And then she has unsafe pokes, like wall stunning 1, and okay, this is wall stunning 1, and down forward 1, which is her unusual do glide, and then she has wall standing 1 and down forward neutral 1. Wall standing 1 is the first hit of her 13 frame punisher, but it can be a situational poke as well. Especially the down forward neutral 1 version can be used similarly to her quarter circle forward 1. They're both around -11 on block, and they go under jabs and some other moves. Moreover, down forward neutral 1 seems to have decent tracking. Quarter circle forward 1 on its own can be a poke as well, once again because of how far it reaches, and it leaves Lili in the opponent. It leaves Lili closer to the opponent, so you can do something like a down 3 or quarter circle forward 3+4 if you feel like your opponent is going to respect you. It's -11 on block, but people won't really punish this because of the extension. That's why you can kinda abuse this as a poke. The extension is a counter hit launcher. It also tracks slightly to Lili's right, but just slightly. Then she has quarter circle forward 2. It's about 15 frames fast, and that's why it's great for Lili. It's a homing mid that can avoid the jabs. That's why I like to use this as a poke sometimes. Lili is slow, she lacks fast mids with good range, and this is one of those that tracks and has good range and is quite fast. But I like to use this only sometimes since it's unsafe on block. Once again, the extension, quarter circle forward 2-1, will make people hesitate, and they won't really punish the first hit. If they mash, you might as well finish the string, which is also unsafe on block, and get a guaranteed stomp. And so yeah, this is Lili's poking game. It's not amazing by any means, but it serves its purpose. I hope you found this video helpful. and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!